There are two important aspects of the US President Joe Biden's visit to Poland. One is to first-hand take stock of the humanitarian assistance that Poland has been providing to more than 2 million people from Ukraine who fled this conflict. He's likely to offer more assistance. He'll also take stock of the security of the region, and this is where Poland is extremely apprehensive. Poland wants more boots on ground. Poland wants more deployment of surface-to-air missiles and other military hardware. President Biden will have a series of meetings in Poland. He will be meeting President Duda of Poland, review the situation because Ukraine is very apprehensive. Ukraine's President Zelensky has warned that today it's Ukraine, tomorrow it would be Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Romania, Hungary, and that is why Ukraine needs to be defended and additional forces need to be deployed to protect other European countries that were once a part of the Soviet bloc. People in Poland have opened their homes and their hearts for refugees from Ukraine. There are more than 2.1 million refugees from Ukraine here in Poland, and according to the government, they've got access to healthcare system, education system in this country. They can also get jobs for a period of 180 days. But a lot more needs to be done. The big apprehension, the big fear is, since mostly women and children have come here, many unattended, they could be open to sex traffic, to human trafficking, especially children. Child trafficking and women trafficking is one of the biggest fears at this point of time. The government is taking care to ensure that people may be protected, especially those fleeing from Ukraine. We bring you this report. Thousands of refugees from Ukraine continue to come every day here at the Warsaw Central Station. Every train brings a large number of people, and there is fear and there is apprehension as they run away from the battlefield. But the moment they get here, at least there is some warm food and some clothes that's waiting for them. There's water, there's medical attention that is given to them. They register at a counter here and then are taken to different shelters in Warsaw, in Krakow, and in several other places in Poland. Now, of the 3 million people who've been displaced since the war started on the 24th of February, more than 2.1 million have come to Poland. They come to railway stations and bus stations like these. Several of these tents have been set up for them to register them, and then they're taken to various shelters. The fear is, since only women and children are coming, and in many cases these are women and children unattended, often little children also get separated from their families. Child trafficking is a major fear, and that is why police personnel are also deployed in large numbers to ensure that people can be kept at bay, suspicious elements can be kept at bay. The police constantly question people who are here. There are, of course, some sections where only women and children are permitted so that people are kept safe. But the bigger fear is that in the days and weeks ahead, this number could swell as the battle for Kyiv intensifies. Of course, we are also told that the US President Joe Biden, he would be visiting, he's likely to visit one of these shelters, pat Poland on the back for providing humanitarian assistance and also offer help. Help in terms of financial assistance, food, warm clothes, diapers for children, a lot that people require. But their basic requirement is an end to the conflict so that they can return home safe once again. With cameraman Lalit Mohan Joshi in Warsaw, Poland, Gaurav Sawant for India Today. With me is Martha. She's a marketing manager but also a volunteer here at this camp. And Martha, how many people do you look after here who are coming from Ukraine?
On a daily basis, we provide first support to more than 1,000 people. This estimation is really rough because we don't only operate the regular trains, and also there are also additional trains being settled because the number of Ukrainians reaching Polish border and fleeing from the war it changes on a daily basis. So
it does. So more than 2.2 million people, we are told, or close to 2.2 million people have fled so far. Do they all come here to the central station? Are they registered before they go elsewhere? What happens? What's the procedure?
There are 3 railway stations here in Warsaw, and all 3 are welcoming Ukrainian guests. So basically, this is not the only place that Ukrainian people are reaching to when arriving to Warsaw. Of course, some people from southern Ukraine also try to reach to other Polish cities like Krakow, for example. These are large cities, and afterwards they either stay here in Warsaw or in other large cities, or they decide to move forward. Sometimes they decide to move to other countries, but also we often recommend them to stay in smaller towns and villages of Poland, which are great when it comes to like hospitality of the people, and also when it comes to like the social quality of living, because at the moment in Warsaw we observe that the fact that the city is a bit overcrowded, of course, because Warsaw and Krakow became the main go-to places for Ukrainian refugees.
There was some apprehension that some of the women and especially children, they could, fall into wrong hands. Is something, being done to look after women and children, especially with the men still fighting there in Ukraine?
Of course, we do our best to provide the best care possible for women and children traveling alone. For example, when it comes to the railway station that we are at the moment, we have decided to create a special dedicated place, like a safe place, designed only for women and children, and no man is allowed to enter this place, even the volunteers. So there is all the time, 24/7, there is a place where women and children can go, can take a rest, can take a nap. There are animators taking care of the children, and dedicated psychological care is also provided.
The US president is also likely to visit some of these camps, we are told. Are you aware of it?
We are aware of his visit. He is arriving tomorrow. We are not aware of his actual plan, so maybe he will surprise us, maybe he will surprise another place. That's possible.
Okay. And what is it that, you require here in terms of assistance or support for the people who are coming here from Ukraine?
What needs to be emphasized is the fact that we are a grassroots organization. We are not a formal structure. We are just a group of volunteers, active people who decided to dedicate their free time to support our brothers and sisters fleeing from the war, fleeing from the Ukraine. When it comes to what we need at the moment here, it's obviously supplies. We definitely need some sort of support in terms of food, water, etc. Just regular supplies that we can actually deliver to the people who need it at the moment. However, I must say and emphasize that this situation wouldn't happen if the war was already won by Ukraine. So we definitely need governments across the world to unite and fight Russia. So this is actually what we, as volunteers here, really need.
For speaking to us here at India Today, Martha, many thanks. So, Martha, one of the volunteers here, and there are many who are coming forward to help hundreds of people who are fleeing Ukraine every day. They come here to the central station, get food, some relief, and then are taken to boarding and lodging centers. With cameraman Lalit Joshi in Warsaw, Poland, Gaurav Sawant for India Today. With our biggest team of reporters on Ground Zero, India Today has been getting you a 360-degree perspective of developments, not just in Ukraine, but also here in Poland and in Russia. India Today's Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan was in Moscow. She's currently on her way to the Donetsk region, the Donbass region, and she will be reporting on Ground Zero. Even as we speak, she's on board a train from Moscow to the Republic of Donetsk.
We're now on our way from Moscow to Rostov, which is a border town, and from here we will then be going to Donetsk, which is one of the republics declared an independent republic by the Putin administration here in Russia. We showed you what the situation is in Moscow. Now we're going to the border towns. Life over here, if you see, seems quite normal. Doesn't seem like a country that is at war, but that is because it is the battleground that was chosen was not Russia or the border areas. Putin very clearly wanted the battleground to be Ukraine, and that's why when I was reporting out of Ukraine, you could see the kind of devastation. But we will be reporting from border towns and from across the border to tell you the real story and the real picture as to why Donetsk and Luhansk are the core of this situation, this conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Satya Rautre, my camera person who is traveling with me, has experienced Moscow. So let's begin with the situation. Now, Satya, there were reports initially when we were traveling, and we were having this discussion also whether if we should carry cash, how bad is it going to be, will cards work or not, long queues, reports. What was your experience of Moscow?
I think Moscow is a completely normal life. Every people doing normal job, normal things. No queues, restaurants are open, all people are moving all around. There is no hesitation, no complication in the Moscow town.
But Satya, when we were talking to people, there were some who actually support President Putin, but there were some who also said that it is a shame that this is happening. There are very mixed views within Moscow itself.
Yes. Some people say that Putin is a hero on this game, and some people say Zelensky also zero to come to hero.
Yes, that was
some
also
people also say.
But now we are going to the border towns, and we'll be showing our viewers what the situation is in the border towns and conflict zones, which is Donetsk and beyond. So, are you all prepared as a camera person to show them exactly what's happening on the ground?
Yes, I know, but let's hope everything going well on the.
Right. Let's just hope that we are able to show you the true picture. It is indeed a very complicated scenario, and we'll be explaining that story to you when we reach the border towns and the Republic of Donetsk. On board a train from Kazansky railway station in Moscow to Rostov, this is Geeta Mohan signing off for India Today.
Russia started bombing early on the morning of 24th of February. It's been an entire month, and in this 1 month, more than 10 million people have been displaced from their homes in Ukraine. Many have lost their lives. There are about 2 million plus who've taken refuge here in Poland. But what is worse, several cities have been destroyed in some instances beyond recognition. Lives have been shattered. A country now lies in ruins. But even now, many argue the worst is yet to come as Russia's President Putin prepares for a bigger assault for the capture of Kiev.
Days of destruction. 30 days since Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine. Innocent lives lost and an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. 1 month since the war in Eastern Europe began, it shows no signs of slowing down. On February 24, Russian President Vladimir Putin, in an early morning televised address, announced a special military operation in Ukraine with an aim to demilitarize and denazify the country. The first city to bear the brunt of Russian aggression was the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv, located just about 75 kilometers south of Belarus.
We're all the citizens of the beautiful country, and we are fighting for our freedom. We're defending our freedom. Be prepared to protect your country on the squares of your cities and towns.
Thousands of civilians enlisted in the armed forces to fight for their motherland. From making concoctions of Molotov cocktails to direct confrontation with Russian tanks, and even abuses hurled to Russian soldiers' faces. Ukraine's common citizen showed indomitable grit and determination to protect their soil. Russian troops had already deployed missiles and launched air raids on Ukraine's military stations, even targeting civilian structures. As Putin and his coterie dangled the nuke threat, Russian troops captured the Chernobyl nuclear plant in northern Ukraine, the site of one of the worst nuclear disasters in human history. On March 1, satellite imagery showed a Russian military convoy closing in on Ukraine. Russia's onslaught continued as several rounds of talks failed between the two sides. Kharkiv was the worst impacted by the attacks, where shelling and missile rains changed the face of the city completely. Pressure also began to increase on the port city of Mariupol in the east and Kherson in the south, which was snatched by the Russians on March 2nd. Days later, Russia expanded its attack into western Ukraine, launching several deadly missile strikes on the military base in Yavoriv. Despite Russian forces continuing to lay siege on Mariupol, Ukraine on March 21 refused to accept a Russian ultimatum to surrender the port city. While Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has stood up to the Russian might, he has made some climb downs too, laying groundwork for a possible truce in future. He has accepted that his country will not join NATO, one of the key demands of Putin.
Що ви цінуєте? Але НАТО ще належить показати, що Альянс може зробити для порятунку людей, показати, що це дійсно найпотужніше оборонне об'єднання в світі. І світ чекає, і Україна дуже чекає. Чекає реальних дій, реальних гарантій безпеки.
With each passing hour, Ukraine war is becoming the fastest growing humanitarian crisis Europe has seen since the Second World War. Diplomatic efforts are on to secure a ceasefire, and yet reports of civilian deaths in Ukrainian cities continue to make headlines. Once a bustling, lively and colorful country, many Ukrainian cities are becoming ghost towns. Bureau Report, India Today.
Russia has claimed to have used long-range sea-based missiles to carry out precision strikes on strategic targets of the Ukrainian armed forces. Russia claimed that a Caliber missile, a cruise missile, was used, fired from sea to take out a strategic target, a target of the Ukrainian armed forces. We bring you this report from Ground Zero. It's been a month since Russia launched its operations into Ukraine, a month of the death and destruction that people in Ukraine have had to face. Of course, West imposed a series of sanctions, which the West, of course, claims are crippling sanctions against Moscow, against the regime in Moscow, against oligarchs in Moscow. But the country, the people in Russia are also bearing the brunt of these sanctions. How are they coping with the sanctions? India Today's Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan from Moscow with this report.
Battling the crippling sanctions imposed by the world, Russia is facing the worst economic crisis in the last 20 years. However, Putin remains undeterred and continues to unleash its wrath on Ukraine. India Today is in Moscow, and we decided to speak to common Russians to find out what their view is of the war and of the global isolation their country faces. Russians largely are backing their leader and stating that they are not feeling the pinch of the sanctions.
Has she felt any scarcity in getting medicines or supplies?
No problem in getting medicines.
Many believe there should be peace, but call themselves patriots and support Putin.
I am a patriot. I support Putin.
Of course.
The invasion has seen several international banks and business brands halt their operations in Russia, and Russians have a special message for them.
Russia, at this point in time, is fighting a war of an existential war, a threat that Russia feels with the NATO allies coming together and NATO's expansion into Ukraine. That's the reason why the action that they justify in Ukraine. Russians over here saying that they do not require these brands if it means compromising Russia's security.
Many reports suggested that banking services have been hit, but for now, things seem to be smooth. Many Russians believe that there would be big issues in the coming weeks.
Is everything available? Is money scarce because of sanctions? Has he faced any problems?
Конечно, of course. It's beginning of big trouble.
Putin's regime has been convincing citizens that there is no shortage of essential supplies and food. But rural parts of Russia have started to feel the effects of war, with people hoarding essentials as scarcity looms. Now, many citizens fear that the crisis could soon reach big cities. With Geeta Mohan in Moscow, Bureau Report, India Today.
Well, that is all we have time for on this special broadcast from Warsaw in Poland. Many thanks for watching. For all the latest news and updates, keep watching India Today.